Assalamu alaikum. Let's cook. Okay, people, Brittany Watts, she faced a year in prison simply for having a miscarriage at home. Some of you may remember, you may have been around on the original Runaway Slave channel. I covered this situation about a black woman out of Ohio by the name of Brittany Watts. Now, Brittany Watts, she had a miscarriage at home and they neglected her for care at the hospital. Now, the hospital called the police on her after she returned back. They lied, and she was being criminally charged for something that she didn't do. Well, she has since been cleared of all these criminal charges, as she should have been. No points to them for that. But Brittany Watts has lawyered up, and she's suing these people who refused her medical care and lied on her to the police, had her in the hospital being interrogated like a criminal. Now, here's the latest. Here's what they're saying. I'm reading now, okay? I'm reading. They're talking about Brittany Watts, by the way. An Ohio woman who was criminally charged after having a miscarriage in her home has filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Warren, city police officers, a local hospital, and its owners. Brittany Watts filed the lawsuit in U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Ohio, Eastern Division, claiming violations of the 4th and 14th Amendment, along with the Federal Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, a law that establishes the right for anyone to be admitted to a hospital in an emergency situation, regardless of their ability to pay or insurance status, and for them to receive necessary stabilizing treatment, according to her attorneys. Brittany Watts, also accused law enforcement of malicious prosecution and false arrest, and healthcare professionals with medical negligence, unauthorized disclosure of confidential medical information, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, according to this lawsuit that was filed on January 10th. Brittany Watts was charged with abuse of a corpse in September of 2023 after suffering a miscarriage at home in Warren, a case that received national and international attention. A grand jury would later decline to return an indictment, meaning her criminal charges went away. While Ms. Watts was relieved that the truth had prevailed, the closing of the criminal case did not erase the harm defendants' misconduct caused, attorneys wrote in the lawsuit. Before this miscarriage occurred, Brittany Watts had gone to St. Joseph Warren Hospital in Youngstown, where she was diagnosed with a placental abruption, a condition that endangered her pregnancy, according to attorneys writing on behalf of Brittany Watts to the federal court. Placental abruption occurs when the placental partly or completely separates from the inner wall of the uterus before delivery, which can reduce or eliminate the oxygen and nutrient supply to the fetus, according to the Mayo Clinic. Brittany Watts waited for 8 hours with no meaningful treatment or guidance and came back the next day to find out her water had prematurely broken, her cervix was dilated, and she had an infection. Her pregnancy was doomed, her doctor told her, and until the fetus was removed, Ms. Brittany Watts was at risk of hemorrhaging, sepsis, and death, the lawsuit stated. Time is of the essence. She sat effectively untreated for another 10 more hours, attorneys told the court, eventually leaving for home again. Early the next day, the miscarriage occurred in the bathroom, covering her toilet and bathroom in tissue, blood, and blood clots. The fetus, which attorneys say was less than 1 pound, was never seen amidst the bloody mess. Nothing suggested she had delivered a living fetus, and indeed she had not, the suit stated. The woman cleaned up the best as she could and went back to St. Joseph Warren. Hospital staff then called police and falsely reported Brittany Watts had committed a crime, leading to police officers coming to the hospital to interrogate Brittany Watts and going to Brittany Watts' home while she was at the hospital. She faced a year in prison simply for having a miscarriage at home, attorneys wrote. Included with the lawsuit was an affidavit from Dr. Joy Cooper, an OBGYN, who reviewed the medical records available for Brittany Watts. In reviewing the medical records, Dr. Joy Cooper alleged that Dr. Parisa Kavari, one of the named parties in the case, breached the standard of care when treating Ms. Watts by failing to provide proper medical treatment to Miss Watts. The lawsuit states that a police detective and hospital staff questioned Watts for nearly an hour as she was in the hospital with false promises of leniency and even suggesting to Brittany Watts that she had birthed a live baby and hid it in a cabinet. An autopsy showed the fetus had died in utero, according to court documents, but Watts' attorneys claimed the investigating officer, Detective Nicholas Carney, set out to present a version of events in which Brittany Watts had given birth to a baby she thought may be alive and had abused it. Despite the fact that the criminal case is behind her, the lawsuit states that Brittany Watts has not recovered. As a proximate result of defendants' actions, Ms. Brittany Watts suffered deprivation of liberty, reputational harm, public humiliation, distress, pain, and suffering, for which she is entitled to compensation for these damages, including damages for mental health and emotional stress, attorneys wrote. The defendants in the lawsuit have not yet filed their responses. So people, that's the situation with this, that happened with this sister Brittany Watts. Again, we covered this a while ago, and you know, I hope she gets $100 million, man. I hope she get everything that she's supposed to get. And as you can see in this story, you know, they pretty much did what they do to a lot of black women. Here we have this racist Indian doctor, Dr. Parisa Kavari, you know, treating black women like they're a piece of meat, like people like him usually do quite often. Really got to watch these dudes. Really got to watch these Indian dudes, man. And then we have this cracker police officer, this detective, shows up and tries to act like she got rid of her child. She had a healthy baby, killed it, and hid it in a cabinet or something like that. This detective he wanted to create a false story. This guy, Detective Nicholas Carney, cracker in Ohio, detective. So you know he's Blue Klux Klan for real. But anyway, people, easy.